Hi everyone, welcome to the second December special of Fine Cider Friday. I've got two more ciders up against each other where I'm going to try a favourite. This week is Somerset against Devon again. That's just a coincidence, I hadn't tried to do that. But I've got sparkling Bramley from Tor in Somerset, 100% Bramley. And then I've got Bollhayes 2014 vintage from Devon. So I first tried these back in last year at the Cider Salon in Bristol, and I was at the Bollhayes stand trying their 2003 vintage, which if you haven't had that, that's well worth seeking out. Really interesting, really deep, and aged incredibly well. At the end of that, they told me to cleanse my palate to pop over to Tor, which I did. And so they come back together again, and I'm going to try and pick a favourite between the two. And they full champagne method, both of them. So single starting fermentation in the tank, then bottled with a dosage, secondary fermentation in the bottle, and full disgorgement. So full champagne method, corks and cages. I took off before the video, which was a good idea. This one fired out, but was relatively mild. This one, however, was a bit frisky, and it's still bubbling now. I don't know if you can hear it, and my blind in the kitchen may have got a little bit wet. So without further ado, let's get started. So we'll start with the Tor. 100% Bramley, 2011 vintage, so 9 years old. Slight spoiler alert, if you read my malt article last Saturday, you'll have read what I thought of this one, and it's very good. So it's going to take some beating, but let's have a look at it. Ooh, lots of bubbles there. Should really known that, having had it recently. Watch, this is how not to pour. But you can see it's clearing up pretty quick. Real nice gold, almost like dark straw colour. Lots of great bubbles. I don't know if you can get the light under there, but they're just, yeah, now they're dissipating. That's perfect. All right, let's have on the nose. It's really zingy. I mean, first sniff, I'm like, it smells like champagne. It's got that kind of bready, toasty background notes. And then there's this kind of green apple acidity, maybe some citrus like grapefruit. And there's almost like a hint of wood, which is interesting. Let's have a taste. Wow, that just follows through. And the bubbles are almost gone now. It's hardly fizzy at all in the mouth. Bramley, if you've ever had Bramley apple, you know, if you've eaten it, or cooked with it, is really sharp. This over those 9 years has kind of mellowed out. It's still quite fresh considering a little bit zingy, but also quite mellow. I think it's probably gone through some malolactic fermentation. There's kind of like a creamy buttery note to it. It's really nice, really smooth. Still crisp, still tastes quite fresh. Yeah, that's lovely. It's like a perception of sweetness at the end. I don't know if that's playing tricks on my tongue, but almost like a juiciness to it. So yeah, let's have a little bit more in there because I'm probably going to need to try it again. Poured slightly better. Okay, and let's go for the Bollhayes. So 2014 vintage. This is a blend of real tannic apples. So there's Dabernate, Yarlington Mill, Somerset Red Streaks, lots of bitter sweets, bitter sharps, Kingston Black in there. There's also browns, and then I think there's a little bit of Bramley in this too to give a bit of sharpness, but lots of tannic varieties. So I'm expecting quite a lot of difference between the two. But let's see if I can pour this one better. Oh. Maybe slightly. Already you can see the colour difference, can't you? From those tannic apples. So this is more gold, more kind of amber coloured to it. And surprisingly, the bubbles have dissipated a lot quicker than this one from the top, but they're still firing up underneath. So let's have a sniff. Really different on the nose. It's kind of like being inside a wooden barn, you know, like aged oak, like barrel type smell. Red apples or like dried apple skins. There's a hint of that, like that toasty, bready note at the end that you get from kind of time on the lees. And then there's like a spiciness and maybe like a leather that you get with tannins. Yeah, that smells really good too. So let's have a taste. It's really well balanced. There is that little zing, a little bit of sharpness to it, which I think is coming from the browns and the Bramley and the Kingston Black, the acidity. Then those tannins come in, but they're not to the point of being overly bitter. You get a nice level of it, a nice layer at the back of the tongue, but it doesn't like suck the dryness out of your cheeks. It's got more of a moussey mouthfeel to it. The bubbles, because there's more in suspension, they kind of fill your mouth a bit better. There's a juiciness to it, again, like this one, but it's not. It doesn't taste as sweet. It tastes drier. I mean, they're both dry, but this one has a level of sweetness to it to me, whereas this tastes drier. That makes sense. Okay, let's have one last sip between the two, and then I'm gonna have to make a decision, because I committed at the beginning of this that I would make decisions every week, which is very hard when you like all the producers that you're putting against each other. I mean, that on the table in a glass like this replaces champagne for me every time. It feels like there's so much more to it. I don't know if it's the age of it and the evolution of it in the bottle, but it's marvellous. And then this one, I love the balance, and I'm a sucker for tannins. I kind of love that structure that they give to the drink. So I think I'm going to have to go with the Bollhayes this time. So that's 1 point for Devon, and I think that's one each, Devon versus Somerset. So we're going to have to do a decider at some point. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Bollhayes this week. Two marvellous drinks. If you didn't read my malt article about the Bramley, this is featured. Go give it a read, please. And yeah, fantastic. So cheers to James at Tor. I was looking there. Great name. Cheers to James. And cheers to Alex and everyone at Bollhayes. And cheers to the weekend.